Why, hello there, Nice to here. I hope this video finds you well, and I appreciate you tuning in to check this review out. And the review is going to be of this VK-TRON, a Reate knife designed by Vulpex knives. Vulpes is Latin for fox, I believe, which is why that is a fox. Vulpex, yeah, I'm going to confuse that. Vulpex design, and a hallmark of their design is that they like to insert a copper little dot into the blade. And once you've seen a couple of Vulpex, you're probably going to recognize the design language. There is a certain consistency to it, and I, for one, personally like the overall design language of many of the designs that I've seen of theirs. In fact, there's a few others that I would like to check out. But before we start talking about that or get into that, I think we'll just jump right into specs so we can get to actually talking about this knife. Blade length, about 3 3/8, just under 3.5, sort of closer to 3 3/8. Just a little bit over 7 7/8 on the overall, and the handle is about maybe just shy of 4 5/8, which is of course just over 4.5 inches. Maybe the numbers aren't, like the inches and everything aren't coming out perfect, but Vulpex is a designer out of, I believe, Europe, and maybe everything equals out better in millimeters or something like that. So that's an entire possibility, but over here in the US, I'm just going to use the inches. Comparisons could be more important than the actual measurements, because you need to know what you're looking at. Maybe this helps more. Full-size Civivi Conspirator, small Civivi Elementum. As you can pretty much see, it's pretty darn close, just a bit shorter than the Conspirator. I'd still call this a full-size knife. And possibly the most important of all comparisons, the 2AA batteries. Why is this important? Because anybody can grab 2AA batteries, set it in your hand, and see where you fall. I particularly fall close to about 1 3/4 approximately of 2AA batteries in actual grip length, maybe a little bit more than that back here. And as you can see, you have more than 2AA batteries. I don't think most people, unless you have massive hands, you're going to have too much trouble holding on to this thing, which is the most, as I said, important. Arguably. That and the blade length is probably the most important information you can get. Weight, 4.31 ounces. It's not the lightest thing in the world. It's not an ounce an inch, but it is full titanium, and there's milling in there, but it's been filled in with titanium liners that are functioning for the detent system, and we'll talk about that when we get there. Hardware. This is T8 back here. Wait, that is T8, right? Well, it would help if I had the T8 and not the T6. That would probably be what I need to do. Yes, T8. It's not the deepest T8. I wouldn't mind seeing that just tooled a little bit deeper. Like the actual tooling doesn't go that deep into the screw, which is something I like to personally see, especially on T6, which there are some in here, though I don't think you should ever have to mess with those, honestly. And the pivot is a hole. Hi. No, the pivot is, in fact, a hex bit. This hex bit, number 8, which is 8mm hex bit for the pivot adjustments. Different tool, maybe an inconvenience, but I do like seeing the pass-through pivot. It's just kind of nice. Not all of Vulpex's designs have the pass-through pivot, so it's not really a big deal if you're getting something else from them, but this one you will need that extra tool if you want to make some adjustments. The final bit of specs. Handle thickness, 487 thousandths, just under half an inch. With the clip, 614 thousandths. And blade stock, 134, I guess they were going for 134, 135 thousandths. Blade stock, 135 thousandths of an inch. And behind the edge, pretty darn thin here. Oop, I'm a little up. There we go. 13-ish thousandths, let's call that, behind the edge, and it seems to not taper. It seems to be pretty consistent throughout. I have checked it before. So, nice and thin, nice and slicey, basically a full flat grind. It performs. The blade steel is M390. And I believe that brings us to the last of our particularly relevant specs here. So let's just start talking about this particular knife. This particular one has a hand satin, very nice on there. Crystal titanium, very well executed as one would expect. There are some different variants. This one also has a pretty polished surround here, though as you can see there is like a little bit of grain structure still in there, which does definitely help hide certain marks and stuff like that, though there's not too many on here in general. Very attractive. There are different variants for this knife, however, so, and just FYI, I can't link this particular variant. I don't think this one's in stock anywhere right now at the moment. There are a few variants that I can link, and we'll talk about them in just a minute. First of all, let's start off with jimping on the knife. The jimping is not great. What works is the fact that the position of the flipper and front flipper are in such high relation relative to the pivot, are so high relative to the pivot they offer a lot of leverage. So it works perfectly fine. It's not something to complain about. It's really good. The jimping does very little, maybe just the tiniest hint of traction. So that could be better, but at the same time, it works, so what's there to complain about? Not much. It doesn't wrap around, and that's because the stop pin hits right here in the open position, and it hits right here in the closed position. Now, the sharpening tool and plunge grind is a little bit tricky on this one because it is a very gradual slope down. I think it ends about here. And the stop pin actually hits right here. Let's see if you can get that. There's that line right there. So it hits right there, and it stops about there. Now, I personally would, of course, like to see this back a bit further, even if you have to, like, you know, take a notch into this or take a notch into this and put it a little deeper so you can actually move this thing into a different position. Purely because if you're going to cut in a more sharpening tool and plunge grind, say you're getting up here and you're getting a smile and you want to cut in that, or you want to more redefine that area, if you're not paying attention, you could definitely hit this stop point. Now, there is enough room here that it's not a big deal. So I'm not going to hold it against this knife. It's not a problem, I will say that. It is not a problem. However, you do want to be cognizant of where you can and can't go. Which, I mean, for convenience sake, let's just say that could be a little bit better. But it's not creating a problem, so I'm not holding it against it. There is a backspacer. Texture here. Pocket clip. I like this pocket clip. I do not know if this pocket clip is reversible. No, I'm going to say it's probably not. It might be. I'm not 100% sure. It could very well be reversible. It does look like it would be symmetrical on both sides, but it may or may not be. For left-handed people, that it would be... Well, this is pretty left-handed friendly knife, so it would be nice if it is reversible, and it might be. But I'm not taking the whole thing apart. I'm sorry. Pocket clip itself is really nice. It is clean. It is simple. I wouldn't mind a slightly harder chamfer down at the bottom line of this chamfer because it is a little bit angular, but overall it is very smooth, very clean, very simple, but it has good flex. It has good... It's actually got quite a bit of height in there, so you can definitely get under it. It does a good job of getting it as deep as you can get. This is, I'd say, about a medium depth, maybe a little bit less than a medium depth, but a pretty decent depth for this pocket clip overall. Now, the only downside of the pocket clip is that it is, you know, the end of it here is hugging the spine. And you definitely notice that. You can definitely feel it. I do find that if I go back here, I sort of wrap around it, and it's still pretty comfortable, and up here, I'm on top of it enough in a way that it's still, again, pretty comfortable. In fact, if I go up here, even for the push grip, it's pretty comfortable. I do feel it, though, more than, like, it is present. It doesn't just disappear into the hand, in my opinion. But while that may be improved if you were to push the clip a little bit lower and center it on the knife, it would kind of throw off the design flow, maybe just a little bit, on the aesthetics. So I get why it is where it is. Even if maybe shifting it could make it a little bit more comfortable, it's not uncomfortable in the position it's at, so it's not a problem. But just be aware of that. You do feel the clip, but it is a very comfortable clip, and it is a very functional and good clip, so I don't have too much, like, negative. I can't say it's really what I would consider a problem. This thing is actually coming... Hey, look at that. We can see this thing in work. I've been messing with this thing for a while now, and I feel like it might be coming a little bit out of position. Looks centered to me. No play. Yep, we're good. All right. Now, the main attraction, aside from the pivot and the design itself, I'd say, is the fact that you can pretty much tell that this is not a locking knife. There's no lock bar. This is a double detent knife. I can firmly say that after having experienced this, I like not locking knives. Slip joints, double detent knives, not my jam. However, I do like this knife. So I don't know. I like the knife, but there's a reason for it, right? This button here, before we go off in that tangent, let's just cover the actual actuation method. It is a double detent knife, and this button here increases the detent strength. It makes it, you can still break it, but it makes it, like, much harder to move the knife in the open position, and it adds extra resistance. It also nicely works in the closed position, so it actually keeps the knife closed really well. You're not going to have this thing open on you. So it's kind of a safety mechanism as well, or in the closed position, which I really appreciate. This is a nice addition. When I did the opening of this knife, or the unboxing of this knife, I said I hoped this would be a locking mechanism. That would be nice to have on there. As I suspected, there is a reason for it, and I kind of figured the reason for it, but the designer, who apparently is paying attention to his work, which is always wonderful to see, kudos to him, and thank you, sir, for popping in. Maybe you'll see this as well. But the designer popped in and said, yes, there's a reason for it, and that's locking knife compliance. As I said, the designer himself is out of somewhere in Europe, I believe, and Europe has a lot of non-locking knife laws. Weirdly enough, I don't know how many blade length knife laws they have. I know we in the not in Pennsylvania, but in the U.S., well, I'm in Pennsylvania, have some length knife laws. I think California still does, but we don't have as many non-locking knife laws. However, that is certainly a thing in different places around the world, and this is the purpose of this knife being compliant with that, right? So there is a reason that this is not a full-on lock. Compliance. Makes sense, and makes this appeal to, I guess, a wider variety, potentially, of customers, or at least a certain sector, area, whatever. So, non-locking, but it does have this to increase the strength, which is, as I said, a very nice touch and very appreciated. I do find that overall, if you go too high on this one, you kind of get hit by the front flipper or the kind of the back flipper. You kind of have to find the right spot, but you can kick it closed from the open position. Also, on this knife, I don't know if you've noticed as well, but it kind of has... I hope that's coming across. kind of a swishing auditory sound. I don't know if that's intended, but if it's not, it should be, because I like it. It's kind of weird. It kind of grows on you. It's kind of a pitched squeal, like, but it's had it the entire time, and I kind of like it, honestly. It further adds character, kind of, to the knife, which I can appreciate. So I hope that came across for the sound. But overall, yeah, I'm not a fan of non-locking knives, I have to say, so I don't think I'll be getting too many more of these. However, I do think there's a reasonable chance that this one actually sticks around in my collection, because it's cool to have something different, I guess. And it works quite well. And it does have that added level of safety, so I can definitely appreciate that. And I, as I said, appreciate the designer coming in to clarify, especially considering this is, you know, under the Reate label. It's not like an OEM knife for his own brand. And yet he's paying attention and checking in and saying stuff, which is always nice to see. A very engaged designer who's listening and paying attention to the knife communities and stuff like that. So overall, yeah, I really like this. I really like the design. I do like the design language of Vulpix in general. And this one's a really cool one. Now, variants and prices, just to finish this off. This variant I don't think is available. I can't really link it, but there are some variants. There's a DLC variant with, I believe, the accents, which I think are these, are zirconium. And there's also like a more standard version with some blasted titanium and stuff like that. The standard variants of this come in around $285, which Reate made full titanium M390 well-executed knife is pretty reasonable, actually. I mean, most times you don't really see too many Reate knives coming in that much. At least they're premium models. They do have some more lower budgety sort of kind of idea models. But you don't really see them coming in to under $300 that often, realistically. So that's really nice. Also, this particular variant is $320, so a crystal tie and polish and the hand satin upgrade for, I believe they're about $35 more. Yes, just yes. Like that's completely reasonable. The pricing on these are pretty solid. Like I said, I will try to link them down below. At least maybe one or two variants that I can link, should you care to check them out. These links are not necessarily going to help the channel, but you can find them with my links. I'm still working on getting the whole Shopify share sale A-Win thing up and running. So hopefully in the future and near future, those links do actually help out the channel, and I can say, oh, go buy my stuff, or no, not go buy stuff through my links, yes. But either way, this is a cool knife. Useful, practical. I don't feel like I'm going to, because it is as long as it is, I do find myself in a position where I can go back here, and while I am a bit far from the edge, I'm not sitting on the pivot point to actuate this thing. So I'm sort of keeping it closed in this position, so it feels pretty safe. Like, I mean, if I go up here, I have had it do that on me. I don't feel like I'm going to go, it's going to close on me, because, you know, you're really holding on to the blade, right? It's not going to go anywhere, but it can disengage. This adds extra level of security, and overall, yeah, it's a cool one, and it's a really nice one. And I would definitely say if you're looking for something that's compliant, or you have laws to take into consideration, this is worth checking out. It's a cool knife. It's a cool design. Lots of character, lots of personality, lots of little touches. Well thought out, and I can definitely recommend this if this thing suits your needs. So, that will be all for me. I've been trying to shorten some of the reviews, not doing a very good job of it, but I'm coming in just under 20 minutes here, so thanks for sticking around. If you use the timestamps down below, you can shorten everything. But that's it for me. Have a great day, and I'll see you later.